Hello everyone, good evening. Good evening and welcome to the session. Hope you are all able to see me, guys. You're all able to see and hear me, right? Can I have some comments? If you're able to see and hear me, please. Okay. Hope you can hear me, right? Okay. Welcome everyone. Welcome to another series of Spark Academy on Target 2020, 2021, 2022. And we are going to start off with the next aspect. These are all free-for-all sessions on YouTube. We have also started our batches which are going on. So I believe all of my students have also joined. So in today's session, we will talk about one of the most fundamental concepts in functions, which is domain and range. Okay. So today we will talk about domain and range, which is one of the most important topics, which is one of the most important basic for your mathematics. All right. So let's talk about it. Firstly, what is a domain? What is the domain of the function? What is the domain of the function? Anyone? If you have any idea, you can put it in the comments. What is the domain? Firstly. So domain is, suppose generally, how do you write a function? Generally, you write a function y equals to something like f of x, right? So that means what? Two variables are involved. Y is depending on the x. So always domain is nothing but whatever values x can take. Whatever values x can take, right? Whatever it can take. That means it is possible, right? So that is called the domain. Range is what? After substituting all possible values of x, which are possible, after substituting these, whatever values you're substituting, whatever y values you're getting, right? That is called as the range. So to find out range, obviously you need to find out the domain first. I'm repeating once again. Domain is what? For any function, whatever values x can take, right? Whatever is the input, or basically domain is called the input. Input is what? We are giving x values. Range is what? The output. After substituting the domain values, whatever values you are eventually getting after substituting those values, that is called your range. Is that clear to everyone? Yeah. So we will slowly try to get into more detail about that. I will give you a lot of examples and I will solve a lot of problems in today's session. So stay tuned, right? So now you know the definition of a domain and a range, right? So let us discuss some fundamental rules for a domain. Rules for a domain. Now I will be giving you few rules on basis of which we will solve the domain questions. So any function domain you can find out once you know these rules. Okay. So I will make a table like this. A function, I will call this a function, and I will say the exception. Function and exception. Now tell me, what if you have first one? If you have some function divided by another function, what is the exception? Basically, if you have something like numerator by denominator. So you know that generally in math, if you have numerator by denominator, you know that the denominator should never be 0. Correct, everyone? Yeah. What happens when denominator is 0? You will end up getting infinity. So denominator not at all possible to become 0. So that is the exception. Right? Everyone, you know this, right? So whenever you have a numerator and denominator, denominator should never be 0. That is point number 1. Second, if you have square root of a function, what does it mean? If you have square root of a function, that function cannot be negative, that function cannot be 0. Because square root of -1 is not possible. It's imaginary. It becomes an imaginary number. So that is why whenever you have a square root function, that function cannot be negative. That function, can it be 0? It cannot be 0. It can be 0, right? Root 0 is 0 only. So 0 is fine for us. Only possibility is it cannot be negative. Right? I wrote 0, but 0 is possible, right? So root 0 is 0. Get it, everybody, I hope. Please comment, guys. I hope all of you are understanding. So first we started with numerator by denominator. If you have numerator by denominator, you know denominator cannot be 0. If you have square root function, square root cannot be negative. Right? So these are all basic fundamentals which you already know. Now let's take it a step further. What if you have a log of a function? Anyone? What if you have a log of a function? What if you have a log of a function? If you have log of a function, that means that function cannot be 0. Also, the function cannot be negative. So logarithm cannot take zeros and negative, guys. Understanding, I suppose? So whenever you have a log function, that function, whatever is inside, it cannot be 0, it cannot be negative. Clear? Yeah. So these are the 3 basic rules which you need to know. Now, any question will be on the basis of these 3 rules. Any question will be on the basis of these 3 rules. Okay? Any question you take will be on the basis of these 3 rules. Sometimes they might say log of f of x by g of x. What will be the exceptions for this? Obviously, since it is logarithm, right? Since it is a logarithm, your g of x, your f of x by g of x, you have 2 functions here. That cannot be 0. Your f of x by g of x, that cannot be negative. And obviously, g of x also cannot be 0. Because inside you have numerator by denominator again, right? So whatever, so you can take function inside a function and you can find out the domain and range. Again, we are using these 3. So these are the 3 which are the most important for your finding the domain part. 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 things which you need to know to find out the domain part. All right. So once again, if you have numerator by denominator, denominator cannot be 0. If you have square root of a function, the function cannot be negative, but it can be 0. If you have logarithm function, the function cannot be 0, the function cannot be negative. Okay. Now let's see how to find out domain and range. So these are some standard domains and ranges. Let me take the first one. So this is, I've taken it from your book, I've taken it from your synopsis, and I've directly put it. Now we'll try to derive. Okay. I will derive few. The rest of them I am expecting you to derive. Okay. So let's start. First one, let me take under root of a square minus x square. Yep. How to find out the domain of this function? How to find out the domain of this function, right? That is the first question which we should ask. Correct? So first tell me, guys, this is which type of function? Can you comment? This is which type of function? This is which type of function? Yeah, square root. This is a square root function. So square root function, what is the exception? What is the exception? This a square minus x square shouldn't be negative. Shouldn't be negative means what? I can say this a square minus x square can be greater than or equal to 0. The a square minus x square should be greater than or equal to 0. That means what? Negative part you are not taking. Only the positive part as well as 0 we can take. Whatever is inside. Right? So now upon simplifying, so how do you simplify an inequation? So you can give negative on both sides. If you give negative, I can write x square minus a square greater than or equal to will be less than or equal to. So I will get x square less than or equal to a square. So I will get minus a and a. Since less than or equal to is there, I will be writing a square bracket. Remember, we write a square bracket when both the values are included. So you are writing two square brackets. If you're writing open bracket, that means what? They're excluded. Got it, everybody? Understood how simple it is to find out the domain? Yeah. Now how to find out the range of this? You understood how to find out domain. Range means what? Whatever domain we found out, that value you substitute in the function. So if you substitute minus a square minus a square will be 0. That will be the least. And minus a to a means what? If you take a number line, it will be somewhere here, right? That means if you can keep on substituting minus a by 2, a by 2, so on and so forth. So if you substitute 0, you will get root of a square. So I will be getting a only. Right? So again, domain range questions, we will do it in the next session. Today, we will focus on domain. I just showed you how to find out the range. Understood, everybody? Please comment, guys. Please comment so that we can move on. Yeah, understood. Very simple process. We identified that among the three rules, this is the square root rule. So square root, you know, it cannot be negative. Cannot be negative means what? It should be greater than or equal to 0. So that means what? I've used the simple concept of inequations and we get the answer. Yeah. So this is how you find out the domain of any function. Any function, you can find out the domain. Right? To understand more about these brackets, there is something called as a wavy curve, which is a separate video in itself. I will put it in the description after this thing, and I think some of my students already know this method. If you know it, well and good. If you don't know it, I'll put it in the description and share it in our Telegram group. You can go through it. Entire thing about solving inequations is explained in wavy curve. Okay, so I won't waste time on wavy curve here. I made a separate video for it, so I'll put it in our Telegram group or I'll put it in the description. You can go through it in detail. Right? So now let us move on to the next part. So let us try to derive the second question, the second standard one, 1 by under root of a square minus x square. Now observe, you have a square root first of all, and in the denominator, you have a denominator term. So firstly what? This a square minus x square, actually what? You have a square root. That should be what? Greater than or equal to 0. That is the square root rule. But in numerator denominator rule, can it be 0? It can't be 0, right? So since it is a combination of a numerator by a denominator as well as the square root, the square root rule, we know that it should be greater than or equal to 0. But since you have numerator or denominator, I should not be taking equal to. Because if you take it as 0, it becomes infinity. We can't get it. So same process, you give negative sign. So I'll get x square minus a square will be less than 0. Since I'm reversing the terms, I have to reverse the sign as well. So x will belong to minus a, comma a. But here it is open bracket. Why is it open bracket? Because it is only greater than 0. Here it was greater than or equal to 0. Here it is only greater than 0. That is the fundamental difference, guys. I hope all of you are getting it. Everyone? Yeah. I hope all of you are getting it. So this third and fourth, I want you to do homework. This third and fourth, I want you to do homework. Okay. Now we will talk about these two. Power functions, any power function, there is no exception, right? Look at this. In our rules, we only discuss numerator, denominator, square root, and log. Any other function, that means it's real only. So a power x, e power x are what? These are actually power functions. So for any power function, it will be what? Real numbers. Or real numbers, if you want to write it in terms of bracket, you can write it as minus infinity comma infinity. Why do you write it minus infinity comma infinity? Because that is your number line, right? Number line, any number line, you write it as minus infinity to infinity. So all the real numbers will belong to the values between minus infinity and infinity. So that is between a power x and e power x. So I hope I'm clear with this as well. And now we will move on to the next part, which is the log part. Log part, pretty simple, guys. You know log rule. What is the rule of log? X should always be greater than 0, because the exception is it cannot be negative, it cannot be 0 in logarithm, right? So logarithm, if you have it, the function cannot be 0, the function cannot be negative. What does that mean? That means that x will be greater than 0. Whatever is inside should be greater than 0. Now what do you mean by greater than 0? So number line, you would write it as minus infinity to infinity. So greater than 0 means what? This portion, right? Everything, this part to your right is greater than 0. That means what? It is not equal to again. So you will get 0 to infinity. We give open brackets. We don't give square brackets. So that is why the domain for log x is 0 to infinity. Both are open. Is this clear to everyone? Can I have some comments, please? Yeah. So logarithm means what? We use the fundamental rule of logarithm to get its domain. Clear? Everybody? Yeah. So I hope I made this simple for you. So again, you are seeing that every question, I am using only these 3 rules to solve the answers. Yep. So this is how you solve a domain for any question. So even this, you can do it as homework, the mod x part. Okay, so if any of you or your friends are interested to join, you can claim an offer which is going on from 12th to 25th. So those who haven't downloaded, you can download our app. All right, now let's get into the problems, guys. First question, I want all of you to simultaneously solve and put the answers in the comment section. Tell me the option, right? The first question, domain of the function f of x equals to 1 by under root of x square minus 4. How do we get this? How do we solve this kind of question? Guys, you can start solving. There are 2-3 ways of solving. One way is, you know the standard ones. What are the standard ones? This is like x square minus a square, right? So this I can write it as x square minus 2 square. In the standard table which we derived, 1 by x square minus a square, what is the domain? Minus infinity to minus a, union a to infinity, right? So this I can write it as minus infinity comma minus 2, union 2 to infinity. This is using our standard table, which we already derived, most of them. So directly you can tick 4th option. This is the first method of solving, guys. Clear, I suppose? Now, the second method is, suppose you don't know, you forgot the standard method, still you can solve. I'll show you how. Suppose you forgot, you can still solve. I'll show you how. The way you solve it is, firstly, again, what is he saying? The domain of function. So firstly, you are observing it's a square root. Square root means what? This x square minus 4, that shouldn't be 0. First things first. And that shouldn't be negative. Okay. These are the exceptions, correct? According to our rule, these are the exceptions. Now let me check each and every option. What do you mean by first option? Open bracket minus infinity to 4 means what? This is minus infinity. This is infinity. 0 will lie here. 4 will lie here. So till here, right? Any value I can take till here from minus infinity to 4. So can I take a 0 here? That means minus infinity to 4 means I can take a 0 and check. So what will happen, guys? If you substitute a 0, you are getting what? 0 minus 4. Root of minus 4. Is that possible? No, it's not possible. It's an exception. So first option is ruled out. What about second option? Minus 2 to 3. That means what? Minus 2 will lie here, 0 will lie here, 3 will lie here, infinity. Again, you can take a 0. If you take a 0, again we are getting negative. Square root of negative, we know it's not possible. So first option eliminated. Second option also eliminated. Right? Now what about third option? Third option is saying 4 to infinity. Maybe all are satisfying. 5, 6, 7, 8 if you substitute. It will still be positive. Square root, it's fine. This is satisfying. But we want to see if this is there in this option as well. Now look at fourth option. Fourth option, what did they say? Now we will try to understand what this union means. Fourth option, what they are saying is the number line minus infinity to infinity. This is 0. This is minus 2. This is 2. What they are saying is your interval now, your domain is lying between minus infinity and minus 2. Between these two, both are not included, as well as 2 to infinity. That means what? In between, they are not taking for you. In between these, they are not considering. They are only considering from this as well as this. So it can be either this or this. Now shall we check? If I substitute minus 3 whole square, it's positive only. If you substitute minus 3 whole square minus 4, this is a positive value only, right? Same thing, minus 4 positive. So this interval is satisfying. 2 to infinity, again, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So 2 to infinity means what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that up to infinity. All these values you will again definitely get positive. So my fourth option is satisfying, and third option they said 4 to infinity, which is already a subset of this, right? That means 4 to infinity is lying already in this interval. So the third option is just partially correct. So fourth is completely correct, because the negative interval also few values are satisfying. Positive interval also few values are satisfying. Right? So this is how you find out domain of a function, either using the methods which we discussed or using the standard table. Using both, you will get the fourth option as the answer. I hope it's clear to everyone. So I'm moving on to the second question, guys. Second question, again, observe this. First, you have two terms here, guys. So we have to do for both simultaneously. You have under root of x minus 2. You have 1 by log of 4 minus x. Now tell me, this is very simple. This you know, x minus 2 should be greater than or equal to 0. That means what? X should be greater than or equal to 2. I know this. So first one we have already done. What about the second part? You have 1 by log. 1 by log means what? This 4 minus x. This 4 minus x should obviously be greater than 0. This 4 minus x should be greater than 0. And what else, guys? So 4 minus x greater than 0 means if I give negative on both sides, x minus 4 should be less than 0 or x should be less than 4. Right? Again, why am I writing not equal to? I'm not writing including equal to. Why? Because it's a log function, right? Everybody, I hope you're getting it, guys. I'm not seeing any comments from last few minutes. I hope all of you are understanding, right? So here two functions. Again, this is like square root. We are going back to our basics. X minus 2 should be greater than or equal to 0. So x should be greater than or equal to 2. Then you have 1 by log. 1 by means what? Numerator, denominator. Also, denominator should also not be equal to 0. So these are the three exceptions which we have made. First is x should be greater than or equal to 2. Denominator shouldn't be 0. X should be less than or equal to less than 4. Right? Now how to find out the domain? The only way is to draw a number line. Now let me draw the number line. What did they say? So everything is around 2 and this thing. So let me write minus infinity to infinity. I'll take 0 here. What else? Here they gave 2. Here there is also 4. Correct? Now let's observe this. So there is also 3 here. What is the first condition? X should be greater than or equal to 2. So I'll try to use different colors. Greater than or equal to 2 means what? Here, right? Everything to the right. Everything to the right of 2. Now, what next? X should be less than 4. X should be less than 4 means what, guys? So this is the 4. Less than 4 means this. So which is the common interval basically? Between 2 and 4. Now you have to check whether it is included, excluded, all of that we need to check. So when you are checking for domains, so between 2 and 4 is what we got. We don't know whether it is open or closed or so on and so forth. So we have checked out these 1 and 3 conditions. Now the only condition which we need to check is you have to ensure denominator shouldn't be 0. Okay. So first let me randomly keep on substituting. 4 minus 2, 2. Log 2 is fine. If you substitute 3, 1 by log of 4 minus 3. That is what? Log 1. What is log 1, guys? What is log 1? Log 1 is 0. But denominator cannot be 0, right? So can you take the 3 here? The 3 also I cannot take. 2 I can take. 3 I cannot take. 4 also I can't take. Because if you take 4, this will become 0 again. So that is why your third option is the answer. What are they saying? Between 2 and 3, 2 you can take. That's why they gave a square. 3 you cannot take. They gave an open. Union, 3 you can't take because you are getting log 1 if you take 3. And again, 4 you can't take because 4 minus 4 will be 0. So all values between 2 and 3 or between 3 and 4. Got it? As Harshita rightly pointed out, third option is your correct answer. So you see, everything is logical. Everything is on the basis of the number line as well as the the basic standard rule table which we learned. Any question, guys, will revolve around these types of functions only. I hope all of you are clear with this, because this is one topic where students have a lot of confusion. The domain and range, how to convert inequalities. So the more you practice, the better you get very easy. Now, what about this third question? Can anyone tell me now? Now I'm expecting some answers. This is a classwork question, guys. Third question. And after this, I'll give you some homework as well. Third question, guys. Can you tell me the third question? How to solve the question number 3? Again, domain of the function. What do we have here? Here we have log of mod x. So that means what? Obviously, this mod x should be greater than or equal to 0. Now observe, this is a special type of function. It's a modulus function. What do you mean by modulus function, guys? Modulus means what? Negative will also become positive. Right? Mod means what? Mod of minus 5 if you have. That means it is plus 5 only. So inside the mod, if it goes, it automatically gets converted into a positive term. So that is why this question is slightly tricky compared to the previous one. If I just gave 1 by log x, you know. But here it is 1 by log of mod x. That means what? You can take negative values here. Because you have a mod, negative values are possible. Is 0 possible? No. That means what? Obviously, fourth option I have ruled out. And also it is numerator denominator. So denominator shouldn't be 0. That means what? X cannot be 1 also. X cannot be 1 means the negative part -1 also it can't take. Why? Because if you give 0, it won't be defined. So 0 you can take. +1 you can't take because log 1 0, 1 by 0 infinity. -1 you can't take because mod of -1 is +1. Again it becomes log 1 0. So these three you can't take. Any other value you can take because mod is given. Mod means what? Positive, negative, 0, anything you can take. So that is why the answer is what here? First one they are saying are excluding. If they give minus, it means all real numbers except 0. But you have to exclude 0, 1 and -1, which is third option, right? Third option is what? The domain they are saying all real numbers excluding -1, 0 and 1. So you see how interesting these questions are, guys. Getting them? So once you know the fundamental, once you know the basics, once you know how to play around with the inequations, this topic becomes very easy for you. Yep, very important topic, guys, for maths. Math base is functions. The functions base is these kind of questions. So for functions, firstly, you need to know what is domain, what is range. So fourth, I want you to try homework as a DIY. Fifth, also, I want you to try it as homework. Options are very close, guys, so you have to be ultra careful here. Yep. So this is about our domain discussion. And I request all of you who haven't joined, join our Telegram channel. In that, you will get a prompt to join our Telegram group. Join our Telegram group wherein we'll be having quizzes, we'll be sharing study materials and all of that. Right? So hope you all understood the video, guys. Hope you all understood what a domain is, how to find out domain for standard functions. Yeah. So please practice the questions and you can ask your doubts in either Telegram group or put a comment. We'll be responding soon. Thanks a lot, guys, for showing patience and for attending the session. I will see you soon in the next session wherein we will talk about range and other standard questions. Thank you.